JVV for hosting this workshop. Let me be honest, actually, I feel quite overwhelmed to be talking here. I'm a teacher by profession. Talking in a class of 60 is not a big deal. I do that every day. But here, to talk about education, to talk about the education policy among people who are working in the education field, who are experiencing the brunt of this policy on a day-to-day basis, I think you should all also be telling about your own experiences. So I will give some overview from what I have read, from what I have studied, and from whatever observations I've made. But if you can contribute from your own experiences, it would add to this discussion. So in 2019, when the draft education policy came out, I was a student in Delhi, and as part of the student council, we decided that we would read the draft in detail. We would read line by line, word by word, the draft policy, and we will send our comments. We will send our suggestions. We did this as an exercise from the student council. But a few chapters into the draft policy, we realized that what the ruling dispensation is doing outside was very different from what it had written in the policy. It had words like scientific thinking, it has words like critical thinking, it has words like scientific temper, evidence-based method. So the draft policy had all of these words. So how are we supposed to oppose it? When the policy is talking about science, when the policy is saying secularism, how do we oppose the policy? Only two things at that point we found very absurd, or we wanted to raise some voice against it. One was the idea of model schools. How few schools in each locality will be identified based on lack of infrastructure, based on lack of teachers, based on lack of technology, and those students will be sent to nearby higher secondary schools or whatever. What we are now calling as merger. Back then we didn't have that word. The policy does not carry, I don't think the policy carries that word. But now we are calling it closure of schools. Because in the name of giving better access to education and infrastructure, we have had lakhs of students drop out of schools. This is one way in which students are excluded. Why are they excluded? Because they are not able to travel that distance to a school which is further away, from a remote rural area to semi-urban areas to urban areas. And in that we see another inequality, that is, of course, gender. Would there be effort taken to send girl children that far to ensure that they are educated? So what we are losing out is that the right to education is no longer a fundamental right. So the policy in different ways is usurping, is taking away this fundamental right from us, but not directly saying it in exact opposite ways, saying access to better education, but indirectly taking students away from education. So one was this, that schools not functional or poorly functional schools would be merged off with better functioning or schools with higher secondary education. And the other thing at that point during the draft policy we found was not acceptable was this idea of volunteers, encouraging local community, in the name of local community participation, philanthropy, encouraging NGOs, encouraging a lot of outsiders to have an active role in schools. Now we didn't completely oppose this because on the one hand we had the suggestion that if this is made possible, then all the right-wing groups will make a direct entry into the schools. Vishwa Hindu Parishad will go, RSS will have its roots in the schools, thereby we should not allow this. But on the other hand, people said, if VHP can go, why can't TNSF go? Why can't AIPSN go? On a practical note, we cannot say local community participation should be restricted or should not be allowed. But where does the right to education get taken away in that context is that when we say that a lot of contribution from outside comes in, then the state itself is not ensuring teachers, the state itself is not ensuring that there are fully permanent school teachers there. There are contract workers who are working part-time in certain schools. There are only one contract workers who get 7,000 rupees salary. Now, how are these students when they don't get, they don't have teachers, they don't have quality of education? That is another reason for dropouts. Why should I go to school if I am actually not able to learn? If the school is not providing me education, if the school is not providing me knowledge, if the school is not able to give me one teacher, one permanent teacher, why will I go to school? Another thing is we keep talking about education, and it is definitely a basic right. You have to compulsorily go to school till a certain age. It's a compulsory thing, it's a right. But I worked as a journalist for a few years. I went to one hill station and I went to this tribal village where there was no electricity, no water supply. I mean, they had water bodies, they didn't have direct water supply. And in this tribal village, while interacting with the students there, not students, youngsters, under 18 youngsters, so they said, we don't want to go to school. What is the need? What do we get out of going to school? Okay, fine, I spent till 17, 18 years, I went to school, I got a degree, I got my certificate, I passed out of school. Does it guarantee employment? No? So when they are saying that if I start working at 14 years, at least another 4 years I will be getting that salary, that will be of some use. So this is the kind of argument that is being made, because even if we are emphasizing on education without being able to ensure employment, how can we say education is mandatory? I mean, sir, while talking, he even mentioned gig workers. He said that in the 3 neighboring countries, Sri Lanka, there was an overturn of government, poor employment, nothing out of the farm, nothing out of agriculture. Same with Nepal, poor employment, at least whatever little they were getting out of the content creation job, that was also being taken away in the name of restrictions on social media. Bangladesh, also overturn of government. So we can say compulsory education is there, free education is there, but if we don't talk about that and if we remove that away from other basic, essential livelihood issues, then we are not able to talk about right to education. And to go on about what Sir was talking about, what has happened in these 3 countries, our neighboring countries and other countries in the global south, Morocco, Peru and all, what has happened in these countries, why is it not happening in India? Why when Sri Lanka is able to overturn, when the youth in Sri Lanka are able to come to the capital city and say that, fuel we are not able to afford, we don't have employment, change the government, why are we not able to do that in India? And one very important reason that I would mention here is education. Our education system is not giving us a chance to raise questions. Why? Why am I not getting employment after schooling? Why am I, after getting a degree in engineering, why do I have to work as a gig worker? Why am I not getting employment for my qualifications? These questions we are trained not to ask in the system itself. No space for critical thinking. But the word is there in the policy. In implementation, the word is not there. So even with respect to science, the word science exists some 4 or 5 times in the policy, but in practice it's very different, right? I mean, we have hundreds of examples from WhatsApp University. The most commonly said is the plastic surgery. Plastic surgery was there during Vedic times. These were being said by politicians outside, but now they are being told in education institutes. They are being told by so-called top educational professionals. IIT Madras director, he is saying that Gaumutra, cow urine, has the properties of antibacterial and microbial properties, antimicrobial properties. It's coming from a scientist. This is what the top scientists in the country are also speaking. And few months later, he gets the Padma Award. Okay, so we understand this trend of what they might not believe it, but they are saying it. They are making gains for themselves. But what happens to society at large? Who is gaining out of it and who is losing it? Okay, I think no point going into examples. It's better that the examples come from you. I'll just make a proposal and end my thing. So I had the chance of attending the All India Democratic Women's Association National Conference, which was held last month in Hyderabad. After microfinance institutions, they had microfinance institutions were the main topic in the conference. How women are getting caught. They don't have employment, they don't have income, they don't have any resource. Thereby, they are going and taking loans. This has become a huge issue. And how did they find this out? They did a national level survey, and this was presented. Second most commonly spoken topic was merger of schools, closure of schools. So that is the the 32 lakh students did not enroll in the year 20, drop in enrollment in 2023-24 from the previous year. Question is, what happened to these students? Where are these students? What are they doing? So my suggestion is that all the People's Science Network, part of the People's Science Network, if we can do a survey and take this issue in our own districts, in our own localities, what happened to students who dropped out of schools or who didn't enroll in school, we should do this survey. Yeah. Thank you. Shall I bring it here?
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, please, we will discuss later. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shruti. And next, Attack and Science and Rational Thinking by Dr. Rashina, KSSP.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Very good. 10 minutes, ma'am.
Mike, Regina, Mike. This mic also.
This is for the recording.